Good morning, everyone. Hopefully everyone's doing fine and well. First off, thank you for attending today's session, which is Thursday Tech Day, something that I was able to initiate it about a month ago. Last month, I did a presentation free to anyone that wanted to, sit in regarding Microsoft Word 2019 and 2010. So continuing on with this approach, I'm also doing a series of Microsoft PowerPoint and as well as Microsoft Excel. Unfortunately, got some news. I'm not feeling 100% today. I woke up with a really bad strep throat. I was laying in bed this morning contemplating if I wanted to do this or not. But considering that I have, over 149 people that registered for this, I decided that it wouldn't be fair, or I didn't want to disappoint anyone if I just postponed it or canceled. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can power through. So it might not be the 3 hours that I anticipated, because as I was working on my presentation, I wanted to touch on some other entities with Microsoft PowerPoint. So maybe in October, I'll probably do a part 2 session of Enhanced Advanced with PowerPoint 2019, 2021. And I'll go ahead and cover other portions that I was kind of hoping to cover for today's session. So again, I do apologize. This session will probably be less than 3 hours, but I'll see what I can do to try to get the additional topics as a free presentation in a later date. So I'm going to go ahead and fire up the presentation. Just FYI, this session is being recorded. What I usually do is once the session is recorded and complete, converted, I'll take the video file that has been converted and I'll edit it and modify it to where I can upload it to my personal YouTube channel, since staff development doesn't have one. And I'll go ahead and share the links on our website. So just to kind of give you guys an idea of that, let me just go ahead and share my other screen. This is my co-host computer. I do have our website open here, as you can see, in staff development at navajo-nsn.gov. If you scroll down the bottom, I do have a YouTube link here for the previous session that I host called Design a Flyer Using Microsoft Word 2019-2021 presentation. So by some reason, if you guys weren't able to attend that session, which was on July 28th, you can click on this YouTube link and it'll direct you to my YouTube channel where you can watch the presentation. Again, it's an hour, almost up to 2 hours long. So the presentation was condensed. A lot of unnecessary stuff I just had to edit and modify it. So it's there. Feel free to watch it at your own discretions if you want to learn sweet techniques on how to create a flyer utilizing Microsoft Word. Because what I'm hoping to accomplish here with these software is to demonstrate how versatile they can be. Understanding that a lot of us use Word for the necessary approach of typing out reports, documents, memorandums, and anything pertaining work related. Again, with PowerPoint presentation, there's probably quite a few of you that have a PowerPoint presentation, and when you go out to do outreach, like whether it's on the community or if it's with our department, with our onboarding session orientation that we dubbed NIMSO, Navajo Nation Employment Multi-Service Orientation, PowerPoint is one of the key tools that a lot of the presenters use for their departments to try to convey information with what goods and services that they provide to the Navajo Nation employees. So chances are at one point or another, we've managed to create a PowerPoint presentation, to go ahead and do a presentation. How I got into PowerPoint was back in high school. This was around 1997, 98. This is when Office 95 came out, or Office 98 came out in high school. We were able to afford a computer, and depending on how limited it was, we were able to get Office 97 software packet. And when I do presentations for my subjects, I would learn PowerPoint to try to get familiar with it, because before that, we would have to go to Butler's and buy those storyboards. And for me, I love to doodle. I love to draw cartoons as a kid. And when I first experienced a computer scanner, that kind of, I saw the light of potential. I started to scan my drawings and taking it into Microsoft Paint and trying to illustrate it with Microsoft Paint. And then I came into a software called Adobe Photoshop. Photoshop just took it to the next level, thinking about all the possibilities you can do with image editing. So over, I would say, 20 years, I've been proficient working with Adobe software, with Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign, Captivate, Premiere, which is a video editing software. And, just learning those software, it allowed me to enhance my my techniques and skills to try to kind of present like a eye-catching desktop publishing. Like, for instance, the flyers that I distribute for the training are all done in Microsoft Illustrator. So just knowing about the capabilities, those software, and these are more on a professional scale. If you feel like you want to venture into that, by all means, explore your creativity, because it's got to start somewhere, in my opinion. For me, I was a math whiz as a young kid. I started to use geometry to formulate my cartoon sketches. And once I was given a variety of mentors from people that I admire, they were able to provide me resources to help me enhance that skill. So as you recall, when I did the PowerPoint presentation, or the presentation on Word, I did talk about working with those cow images that I did. So all of that was a process of sketching, scanning, and then editing, adding color, depth, and then presenting it. So, but I'm kind of getting off the subject here. So we're going to show you a brief technique on how to utilize a feature in PowerPoint called morphing. Now, morphing has been introduced, I believe, I want to say in 2010, but I could be wrong. But most likely it's a new transition that Microsoft ended up, embedding into its arsenals of tools to consider using. And again, it's a transition. And if you don't know what a transition is, it's basically when your slide moves from one slide to the next slide, you can apply like an effect transition to, instead of it just being just a basic slide maneuvering, you can apply a transition that can kind of enhance it, where you can show like some type of appearance to your presentation. Because again, the idea of PowerPoint, and when you do your presentation, is to keep your audience engaged with what information you are conveying to your audience, pretty much. So It's going to be something that we're going to demonstrate. I'm going to show you guys how to do it. We'll probably do a kind of like a step-by-step tutorials with how you can change shapes from one to another with transitions, how you can use transitions as a feature to zoom in on a huge image and then zoom out. And of course, how you can use transitions to transition one image to another from one slide to another. So it's got this really appealing effect that you can provide. And let me just demonstrate to you something that I worked on yesterday to present transition. So I have this presentation that I created for our department here, staff development and training. And with this here, it's just basically a slideshow less than 4 minutes that kind of provides service. So when I play this transition, this animation or slideshow, you're going to see how transitions take into effect. So just sit back and enjoy. So let me just start it. I'm hoping that it starts okay. I'm kind of seeing a slight lag on my PC here. So let me just start it, and here we go. So as you can see, that presentation was enhanced to kind of demonstrate a lot of animation and transition. So when you notice that the images for about us, our service, our trainings and contact, it kind of just increased in size as it moved from one step to another. After the information was conveyed, animation did end, and then it jumped back to the original platform, and then the next one, and then of course it zoomed out, zoomed the image for our services, gave information, exit, transition back to the original. So it created this sequence of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That image that was enhanced, that's an example of the transitions as it moves from one slide to another. Notice how the scaling of it enlarged, and you're able to see, you know, the image on a different slide. So I was kind of toying around with this last night to demonstrate what you can do potentially with Microsoft PowerPoint. So maybe not all of you guys are not proficient. If not, that's okay. Take baby steps to get proficient. If not, we encourage you to take our trainings. This is just a cheap plug I'm going to do. I'm the computer trainer here at Staff Development and Training. And then we do offer a PowerPoint training for part 1 and part 2. So as I'm going through the PowerPoint slides, I took some of the slides from part 1 and part 2 to kind of give an overview of, PowerPoint. So I'm going to go ahead and let me just close down this one here. And I'm going to, open up. Let's see here. This is this presentation that I created for today's session. So again, welcome. Appreciate you guys taking the time to sit in on this with us here at Staff Development. The presentation is Enhance Your Glance with PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint 2019-2021. My name is Lionel Patterson. I'm training instructor here at Staff Development and Training. Been here for about a good 7 years now. I enjoy what I do. It always thrills me to hear when people take training with us and they apply stuff that they do to their training and how they get more proficient as time goes on. They come up and say, hey, I really glad I took your training because I didn't know I can do these things with the software that I'm using at work. So it's an encouragement. We do provide personal professional development training. So not only with computer training, but we also do progressive training like Skillsoft, like customer service, phone etiquette, time management, anger management, just to name a few that Vera Hyatt does, our progressive trainer. She's very proficient and knowledgeable with those. And she also touches on a lot of traditional concepts, like Navajo traditional concepts with her training. So it's always good to be rooted with your traditional upbringings and efforts with regards to your, doing progressive training, like understanding the concept of when you're doing customer service, we want to approach everyone like they're just a part of the family and make sure they get services that they are seeking, or information. It's quite vital with information. We do hear it from time to time. Some people always like to criticize Navajo Nation about being lack of customer service or stuff like that. It's very unfortunate. That's the burden we all have to carry, but we do our best, we do our part, and we try to get information out to or services out to everyone that we are committed towards the Navajo communities. So our objectives for today as follows, and just a brief introduction, which we just did, insight on Microsoft PowerPoint 2019-2021, an overview of the interface when you open up PowerPoint 2019 or 2021, just kind of anticipate when you do open it, what you see within the interface to kind of help you guide you with how to navigate. So, and of course, types of commands that we're going to be using most for mainly, it's just going to be the morph transition. And of course, enhancing our PowerPoint presentation with the utilization of morphing. So again, we're just going to focus on the technique of morphing. I do apologize. I did have other plans to do like animation and pan and zoom, action buttons, but I'm just not feeling well today. So if I do get a chance, I would like to just continue doing a part 2 of the session, but maybe announce it in October. Because I am doing a session in September on the 22nd, which is on fall begins on the 22nd of September, for the 3rd and final edition of Thursday Tech Day, which is, I'm going to call it Enhance Your Excel, or excel your skills, or something too catchy. I haven't got a chance to work on a flyer or information, but when I start to feel myself again, I'll go ahead and get that information out. So if you guys want to take that as well, you're more than welcome to. So inside of Microsoft PowerPoint 2019, just kind of give me a show of hands. How many of you guys do have PowerPoint in your computer? You can go into, or just give me a thumbs up if you go into the your your um your bar at the bottom. There's a reaction button, and just go ahead and give me a thumbs up for the reaction, just to kind of get an idea how many of you guys worked with the software. If you happen to purchase or have your office department purchase software, most likely they'll probably purchase the suite packet of Office. So it does come with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and if you get the traditional or home, it will add additional applications for the Microsoft Office pack. So, well, good. Some people do have the application software in. That's fantastic. So slight glimpse of PowerPoint 2019, 2021. And the reason why I have it as 2019 and 2021, most of the presentation imagery is based on PowerPoint 2019, which I was using prior. But I went ahead and upgraded my version of PowerPoint or Office 2021 recently to 2021. So there is a slight difference in change of the interface, but understanding everything is still intact with working with 2021. So that's the reason why I have a 2019 and 2021. If you have Office 365, which is a membership base for the Office Suites product, you don't have to worry, because most likely they probably will upgrade you to 2021. So what is PowerPoint? PowerPoint is an application that is a part of the Microsoft Office suite um, of users' productivity tools. So again, as I mentioned, Suite Packet, you purchase Office, you probably going to get primarily the three base, which is Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. But if you get the Home Edition or the Professional Edition, it'll add in more applications to the suite product. So Microsoft is trying to explore additional applications for users to utilize as part of being in the competitive market with regards to other, you know, clerical work softwares that are out there. So if you don't know, PowerPoint or Office does have rival companies, like another company called Corel. Corel is something that I used to use when I worked with United States Department of Agriculture under Agriculture Marketing Service for fruits and vegetables standardization and grading. I wasn't really keen in with Corel. So I was kind of just set with Microsoft Office. And of course, Apple products with regards to PowerPoint, Apple does have a presentation slide that's called Keynote. I don't know if they still have it, but if you have an Apple computer or a iPad, chances are you'll be able to get Keynote with that. If you happen to have Google does have their own suites product. I think they call theirs Google Slides. But ultimately, a lot of us, majority of us, is that work with Microsoft Office. So you can use PowerPoint to create, edit, and display professional looking graphical presentations, or even creating a flyer. And if you ever got a chance to sit in with our administrative professional conference week, I did a presentation about something cool with Microsoft Office. I demonstrated on a video how to create a flyer using Microsoft PowerPoint. So that was just kind of show you a demonstration that you can structure a flyer with the use of this particular application software. So as I try to reiterate, versatility is something that, I strive on by just thinking outside the box from working with these software and try to find interesting approaches to try to accomplish something. So venture your curiosity. I encourage you if you can. PowerPoint presentation contains a series of slides that are used to present graphical and textual information in a logical sequence to your audience. As I mentioned before, a lot of us, when we did presentations back in the heyday, and I am really talking about my age here, we used to get storyboards, and some people still do this to this day. And we would structure our presentations with text and graphics and charts, diagrams on storyboards. And when we were, giving a presentation, as we give the presentation, we would switch the storyboard from one after another as in the means of a presentation. So you would have to have like a facilitator who's the one that's giving the presentation, as well as a producer, another person that knows on cue when to flip the storyboard from one to the other. You can still practice that same approach with the facilitator as well as a producer. And I've taken a training recently with Langevin, dubbed the virtual trainer or the virtual producer. And it touches on, distinguishing a facilitator, which is a person that gives the presentation, and as well as a producer, the person that's monitoring the presentation, flipping the slides, and answering questions in the chat feature. So that's something that I've never really thought about. I've seen Division of Behavioral and Mental Health Services do that when they do the NIMSO with us. When I sat into one of the presentations, I believe they had series of facilitators, and then those that also attended the presentations, they were answering questions in the chat or conveying information in the chat. So I kind of thought that was a pretty good team working efforts with regards to their approach on that. But needless to say, this is just what PowerPoint is contains a series of slides that you can use graphical and textual information in a logical sequence to your audience. And of course, to increase the impact of your presentation, you can add dynamic multimedia elements that engages your audience and can enhance your credibility as a presenter. So this is where I go in. I really get enthusiastic when I do my presentations, because I am the think outside the box kind of person. I don't really like to try to use what PowerPoint is offering me. I try to go out and create everything from scratch and create a branding in a sense. So as you can see, this presentation here is not something that you can see in your design feature. This presentation slide, or the master slide, if you will, is something that I created with the background, and I just changed the branding of the font colors and the themes and the coordinates to try to, enhance it. So the more you work on it, it does enhances your credibility as a presenter. So what is PowerPoint? Again, this is when you open up a presentation, either if it's a blank slide or blank presentation, or if you just open up an existing presentation, this is what you're normally going to anticipate with regards to your user interface. So your slides is the integral part of working with PowerPoint. This is where you are going to go to structure your slides one after the other. Again, the office is pretty convenient to help you along the way. If you don't have, don't have time to get creative with a presentation, you can take a look at the variety of templates that they have to offer, or take a look at the design tab and see what has been built in for you to utilize. Again, I'm not knocking this feature. Sometimes a lot of people just want to create a presentation without having to go through the hassle of creating everything themselves. But if you feel like you need to just create a presentation, by all means, take advantage of what the software is offering you. So with your slides, again, you can use slides to display text, imagery, animation, charts, tables, video, and even applying audio to your presentations. Your start screen. When you initiate PowerPoint through its initial launch, it's not going to take you to a blank presentation like Microsoft Office 2010 used to do. From 2013 version on to the current version of Office for PowerPoint, it's going to take you to a start screen, which you can see here displayed on imagery. So basically, it's kind of asking you, these are some recently files that you worked on or presentations. They'll have it shortcut or bookmark. This as long as you didn't change the directory or move the file from one location on your computer hard drive to another, it can open it. But if you happen to move it, then it's going to probably prompt an error message. But you will have a recent that kind of just takes you directly to what you're working on. Or you can go to open other presentations and navigate through the open dialog box to locate your presentation. But if you're starting at the very beginning of PowerPoint, you can see on the right pane, it shows you features, which is like a blank presentation, which you can start from scratch, or you can scroll down and take a look at an abundance of templates or themes that you can download and utilize in efforts to create your PowerPoint presentation. So comparing to Microsoft 2010, I do really appreciate how themes are to this day with what they provide, because it's more on a contemporary approach where it's so dynamic, it's so eye-catching. It's, it will, enhance your presentation. Hold on just a second. So take advantage of the themes and templates that PowerPoint does offer if you do choose to venture that approach. Again, as I really emphasize, what was that word? Versatility. So just to kind of give you guys some features here, let me change my, can you guys see this okay? Yeah. Okay, so hold on, delete it. When you open up your presentation, usually you'll get your title bar in the upper center of your application window, which will give you the name of the presentation. But if you're opening a blank presentation, it will just simply give it to you as presentation 1, presentation 2, presentation 3, and so forth. If you're working with Office 2021, it's going to move that towards this area here. So you will still have a title bar, but it's not going to be in the center part. It's going to move it towards the left of right next to your quick access toolbar, which is located here in the upper left corner. So quick access toolbar is quite recognizable in Office. Dating back in Office 2007, Microsoft thought it would be so convenient for users to take advantage of, instead of having to navigate extensively within its application software for tools and commands. they went ahead and instituted a quick access toolbar in the upper left corner. So by default, you'll probably get a undo, redo, and a save command, but you also have the option to customize it, adding additional commands to your quick access toolbar. So again, proficiency is key. They try to make it where you can be elusive with working with the software. So by putting commands that you frequently use in PowerPoint, you can just store them in the quick access toolbar, and it's like cuts down seconds to just navigate there and utilize the commands. So next we'll talk about is your ribbon feature, which is located here. Unlike tool command application softwares like Photoshop, Illustrator, Adobe Acrobat, just to name a few, they usually have just the tab at the top, and when you click on it, it drops down your options or commands. Microsoft used to do that before, but they decided to kind of change up their interface, and instead of having like drop down menus or customize command bars in your interface, they structured their command usage or navigations with the use of what they call a ribbon. So you will have tabs in your ribbon that kind of mimic what a file folder looks like in a filing cabinet. When you select the tabs of the ribbon, you'll see in each of those tabs, there's going to be a listings of command groups that are relative to that ribbon name or that tab name. Within those command groups, you'll see your commands in there that you can use. And they don't give the commands as like just words expecting you to know what it is. I say that with Adobe, because Adobe sometimes do that with Photoshop and Illustrator. When you drop down the windows, it'll have the listings of the windows, and they assume you know what the window is. But with Photoshop, or excuse me, with Office, they try to put like icons representing the task specifics of that command. So it's quite useful, in my opinion. If you recognize the icons and its purpose, you can recognize what it can do with what selection you have within an object on your PowerPoint slide. So of course, in this pane here is your thumbnail pane that does show you the listings of all the slides that you have in your presentation. You can have a presentation that has more than 100 slides. When I do my presentation for training of Office, a lot of my presentations do go over 100 because there's a lot of information pertaining to the student manual that we cover. So you can have a presentation that can peak over 100 slides. You can scroll up and down. Whatever slide you select in your thumbnail, that slide is going to be presented in your slide pane. So there you can go ahead and go in and modify and enhance your slides in the coordinates. So, you have that there. And of course, at the bottom, you have your status bar. Status bar will always be in Microsoft Office window. If you happen to open up Word and Excel, you'll recognize that they too have a status bar pertaining specific status information of your document, your Excel spreadsheet, and in this case, your PowerPoint slides. So it can tell you information of what slide you are on, the presentation title, and the name of the presentation, any type of accessibilities. If you want to initiate your note pane, you can click on notes. It'll open up your note pane. That can be something beneficial to go ahead and type in key information pertaining to that active slide that you have in your slide pane. So when you're rehearsing for your presentation, you can at least acknowledge some key points that you want to emphasize pertaining to that slide that you are displaying at that moment. And of course, you have your viewing options, which is normal view, slide sorter, full view, and presentation. And of course, you do have your zoom, which you can zoom in and out of your slide view. So these are just kind of something that has been standardized with default settings of working with your um, Microsoft PowerPoint user interface. So again, this is what I was talking about, your ribbon. The ribbon is where you can access majority of the commands you will use to create and develop your presentation. The ribbon is a component of PowerPoint 2019-2021 user interface that contains task-specific command buttons and menus grouped together under a set of tabs. So you can see the tabs are at the top. The ribbon was designed to provide you with a central location for accessing various functions of PowerPoint without having to navigate the user interface extensively. So again, Microsoft did us a favor by structuring their approach on how to navigate with the tools this way. I like it. It makes it a bit more convenient for me to utilize. These are just names of the ribbon tabs and what specific access that they can provide. Again, the tabs do hold water. Just don't think that because they just gave it the name, it's just separating it. But the names do hold some meaning and significance for what you can do. Like for instance, insert. Think of the idea of you want to insert objects into your presentation. Animation, you want to apply animation to objects in your presentation. So these are quite helpful to just kind of take into consideration. Your thumbnail pane, as I mentioned before, by default, your thumbnail pane will always be positioned on the left side of your screen. You can, navigate, select what slide you want to position in your slide pane and go through by editing your slides in there. Contexture tabs. If you don't know what these are, when you insert an object, and when I'm talking about object, I'm talking about a variety of things. It could be a chart, it could be a text box, it could be a shape, it could be an image, an icon, a table, just to name a few. And most of these features are within your insert tab. So when you insert an object into your presentation slide, you can click on it and you'll start to see additional tabs appear on your ribbon. These tabs are what they call contexture tabs. Specifically, it will provide additional commands pertaining to that object. So as definition here, it says contexture tabs are highly specialized tabs that appears on the ribbon that contains objects are selected. They contain specific commands and menus related to items such as tables, charts, and pictures. You can edit the particular attributes of them within respective contexture tabs. Some contexture tabs contain multiple tabs for accessing commands. Once the item is deselected, the tabs will disappear. So this is across the board with working with Office, okay? So if you happen to work with Word or Excel, for an example, and if you insert objects in those particular application software, you'll recognize that the contexture tab does take an effect there with the objects that you selected. Some of them may be exactly identical to what you may see in PowerPoint, but others may be exclusive pertaining to that object in those application softwares. Templates, as I mentioned before, you can go into like launch or go to new, your backstage view tab, the file tab, and then go to new. And you can see if your software is connected to the internet, you will see a lot of feature templates that Microsoft is presenting that maybe you as the user may want to explore. And if there's a particular template that appeases you, you have the option to select it, download it, and it's going to open up into your PowerPoint, which then you can go ahead and start initiating to create your PowerPoint presentation. So as I mentioned before, Microsoft did smarten up about trying to create really good templates for users to take advantage of. So by all means, I would just suggest explore what they have to offer, and maybe it could be something that could be quite useful to what you want to use. On the other hand, there are companies out there, and you can probably write this down. There's a company called eLearning Brothers that I stumbled upon when I attended a conference out in Orlando years ago. eLearning Brothers, they specialize in creating like stock images, you know, e-learning, course creating templates. They also create PowerPoint templates, and their PowerPoint templates are pretty enhanced. And excuse me, if you happen to purchase like a yearly membership with them, you can take advantage of what they have to offer. Now, I'm not just plugging them because this is something that I stumbled upon just to kind of convey that there are companies out there that specialize in like course creating content. If you're dabbing into like e-learning, if you want to do like course creating using Adobe Captivate or anything pertaining to that, or if you want to enhance your presentation, you have those that you can take advantage of as well. So one of the key features in PowerPoint is your text box. You can find this either on your home tab, or if you go into your insert tab, you'll see options for text boxes there. So text box is basically where you're going to, draw out by clicking and dragging after you select text box to where you want to position your content of text within your PowerPoint presentation slide. So case in point, you can see like where it says text box, blank container for adding text. All that paragraph information in that bullet point is an example of a text box. So this is a presentation showing you what text boxes can do. Text selection, this is just some information that I just took from my presentation. Maybe if I have time today, I'll go ahead and just like convert this into a PDF and I'll just put it in the chat at the end of today, but I'll see what I can do. Cut, copy, and paste. You work with Microsoft Office. You either select content, text, objects. You can cut them to move it from one area to another. Or if you want to do a duplicate, you could just copy them and then move it from the duplication from where it was positioned to another location. And of course, pasting will paste the objects that you cut or copy. So this is within Microsoft Office across the board. So we're all most likely are proficient with the cut, copy, and paste feature. Shapes. We're going to get into shapes today. You can find these in your insert tab. Shapes are commonly graphical objects that you can use within your presentation. PowerPoint contains a variety of pre-existing shapes that you can use to build complex figures or illustrations. Shapes can serve as a visual cue attempting to emphasize to other on-screen elements. You can also add text within a shape, allowing you to create in-depth design or flowchart, giving the additional options for customizing your textual content. So you can see when you drop down the shape menu on your insert tab, there's an abundance of shapes that you can take advantage of within what PowerPoint has to offer. From Office, I think I would say 2013 on to the current version 2021. Microsoft does include a new command called icons, and icons are a base of sets of vector graphic images that you can insert into your presentation. So if you don't know what vector images are, these images are structured using the vector mathematical equation to ensure that the lines are really crisp and in depth. So for an example, if you were to insert a vector into your presentation, and if you were to enlarge the scale of it, no matter how big the image is, the vector image will always remain intact, where the lines are going to be really sharp and crisp. Unlike photo images like a PNG, which is portable network graphics, or a JPEG image that you insert into your presentation. And we'll probably can see that in a later demonstration. When you insert a photo image, and if the resolution is not high, when you zoom in, you'll start to notice that your images will be kind of blocky or bumpy. That's just because the resolution is low and you enlarge the image, and it's going to show you that pixelation of the image. So how images work digitally is it uses these small blocks to create the image. So if you happen to have like a smartphone that has like a pretty good camera, like say for an example, the latest iPhone or the latest Samsung Galaxy phone, you set your resolution to high. When you take a picture, and if you were to send that picture to your computer and download it and open it, you'll notice that the image is severely large, even though the units of it is small. That's because of the resolution was high. The resolution is large, so then it can kind of give you like definite outcome of the results of the image. So if you happen to use a scanner for an example, like you scanning documents that you're sending to OOC, like you're doing procurement process, and they need to see like a invoices, or trying to close out stuff, you scan your document, and there's always a resolution setting where you can change it to 72, 150, 300. So when you scan your documents, it's making sure that the resolution is going to stay intact, that when you save it as a PDF, you can send it, so then they can be in receipt of that document with a pretty good resolution on it. If you have like a high settings on your scanner, and if you set it up and sometimes that could not be in your favor, because the more high the resolution is, the more memory space that it's going to use to create that. And there's sometimes where your scanned documents can be over like 25 megabytes, and if you're trying to email it, it could be like giving you an error message saying that the resolution is exceeding the memory is exceeding the allotted capacity, which is 10 megabytes, that it's not going to allow you to send it, which then you probably would have to figure out how to reduce the resolution in efforts to try to send that through an email. So hopefully by explaining that, I didn't lose you guys, but this is just kind of explaining resolutions and vectors and digital images. 3D stock images. Now, this is something that Microsoft does present, I believe, in 2016 version to 2019 to 2021. You can incorporate a 3D digital image into your presentation. There's a variety of stock 3D images that you can take advantage of if you want to enhance your presentation. I cover this in my part 2 Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. So what we do is we take an origami of a lion and we enhance like some effects to it where it's jumping around and spinning. So it's something that they're applying with it. What's the best resolution works? Okay, so I've been using 300. 300 is good to use if you want to keep the I guess your typography or anything in your what you scan to be really sharp and crisp. But again, as I mentioned, if you save it, the memory size may be high. For me, I usually just use 150 resolution because that's kind of like a little okay. I try not to go 72 because it's going to make it pixelated. But when I do scanning documentations, I prefer just to keep it at 115 resolution or 150. Yeah, that's the only unfortunate thing about PowerPoint. Maybe because the question that was asked is that's the only thing about PowerPoint, unable to send through email, exceeding capacity. The reason why you probably have that is because your objects are probably at high. So if you have imagery that's high, if you have video files that are high that have been inserted into your presentation, that's probably the reason why it's going to be high. But I would suggest maybe if your department can get in touch with DIT to maybe have like a SharePoint. If you don't have a SharePoint, you can probably try to use SharePoint and upload it to your SharePoint, and then they can be in receipt of that. That's the only thing is that, yeah, those things are kind of high, especially when you're doing a lot of video and stuff like that in your presentation, because it doesn't link the video or it doesn't embed the video. It puts it in your presentation. So when you insert your video into your presentation, it's going to add on with regards to the memory size of that presentation. That's the only thing I can caution you about that. So you can try to send it through a zip file, but again, if it attempts to try to compress the file, your file size may be slightly high. But the only thing I can probably recommend is, I don't know if you guys are okay using like cloud computer, like Dropbox, Google Drive, or what's the other one? Microsoft OneDrive. If you happen to have a Microsoft account, meaning Hotmail, MSN Live, Outlook, chances are you probably have a OneDrive account. If you have a phone that works with Android, or if you have a Gmail account, chances are you have a Google Drive account. So sometimes in my experience, if I'm trying to transfer a file to somebody, and if I can't email it, I usually upload it to my personal OneDrive account. Once it's emailed, once it sits in there, I then share or copy the URL address. So I email that to the recipient. So then when they receive the link to that URL where my presentation holds, they can click on it. It's going to open up a page on OneDrive, which then they can download onto their computer. So that's the only way, in my experience, that I had to transfer presentations that are like severely high in capacity of memory without having to utilizing the email. But again, I hear great things about SharePoint, or if your department has like a network drive, you can most likely upload your presentations in your network drive, and your recipient who's also a part of that network drive can also gain access and download that onto their computer. Okay, so it says, what about transferring into PDF? If you transfer your presentation, like convert it to a PDF, it will compress it. It's going to eliminate all your media files, and it's just going to compress it. That's all it's going to do, which then you can send, but the presentation is not going to flow with animation or multimedia. So it's kind of good to use for, like, what do you call that? Like notes or presentation notes. But yeah, I'm kind of getting off subject here, so let me just get back on. Next we'll talk about is your selection pane. Now, when we're working with transitions, we're going to really get into selection pane, because we're going to have to create a what do you call that? A designated name, kind of like a code for the transition to recognize from one slide to another. But I believe if you go into your home tab or your insert tab, you can initiate your selection pane. Any object pertaining to, like, text, charts, pictures, etc., you can see them in your selection pane, and you do have options to toggle what can be arranged at the top to the very bottom. So arrangements is something that I also cover in my part 1 as well as part 2 training. But this is just kind of showing you a glimpse of the selection pane, because we are going to use this in our demonstration shortly after. So again, talking about contexture tabs, this focuses on graphical tools contexture tab. If you feel inclined to try to enhance a text box, a shape, you can go into your graphical tools contexture tab once you select it, and these are the following command groups and commands that you can take advantage of. Converting shapes. Again, if you happen to create insert an icon into your presentation, and if you feel like you want to convert that to a shape, it's easy as selecting it and then going into, I believe it's in this contexture tab. Yeah. So it'll open up this graphical tools contexture tab, and there you'll see convert to shape right here, boxed it in with this green box, which you can convert that icon into a shape. So that's where you can see the third image to the right. It changes the color of the ice cream cone to gray. And then, of course, you have the ice cream that has a text box inside of it with the word yum. So you can incorporate a shape or icon as well as converting it into a shape. Again, I covered this in part 2, Advanced Excel. Now, getting into the meat of today's presentation is within your transition tool. You see a option right next to the word none, which is a morph. So we're going to kind of do a demonstration on this, but if you take a look where it says slide 1, let me just box it in. This here is slide 1. You can see in slide 1, it's got a shape which looks like a cup sitting downwards. When you insert a new slide, which is slide 2 here, you insert in an additional shape, which is this green shape that mimics a cup standing up. So you have these two separate shapes in slide 1 and slide 2. This is where the selection pane takes into effect. So in order to perfect a morph, which you see right here, when you transition from one slide, and you have to have both slides with the transition, the morph transition, it's going to take this cup shape downwards, and then as it moves to the next slide, you're going to see the transition take into effect, where it's going to change it as onto slide 2 to this shape here. So this is how transitions work with regards to the morphing, and this is something that they introduced fairly recent with the use of Microsoft Office PowerPoint. So as I mentioned before, when you name two different objects of the same thing, one object, and use the morph transaction to the second slide, PowerPoint will create a smooth, visible transformation of the object from the first slide to the second slide for the second object. So in order to perfect that, when you go into slide 1 and you open up your selection pane, when you select the object that you want to morph to the second object on slide 2, you're going to have to select the first object in slide 1, and you have to designate it with a name. Most likely it'll give you like a default name, but you can select that name of the object and you can go ahead and give it a name. Thank you. So the important thing about this is the names have to be exactly identical. There cannot be any spacing like in the name. It's got to be one name. And of course, above all, you're going to have to put 2 exclamation points in front of the name, because the 2 exclamation point, Microsoft will recognize it. And once it starts to recognize it, it'll go ahead and pick those identical names in the selection pane, and it's going to morph it like such here. I keep selecting the wrong one. So this is object 1 morphing in to object 2 there. So let's see here. And close. You also can morph text, but in order to perfect this, and of course I do cover this in part 2 of my training, you would have to convert the text into shape, and you can do that. There is a way to do that, but I'm not going to really cover it much, but I'm just kind of giving you the gist. If you want to venture towards this, I would encourage, if you guys have it in your budget, to take our PowerPoint part 2 training, because I do cover this in there. And of course, I do talk about animation. Your animation pane is where you structure pretty much when you incorporate an animation for it to be an entrance, an emphasis, as well as an exit. With one object that you selected, you can apply additional animations to that object. For an example, if you want an object to have an entrance, and then if you want that same object to have an emphasis, like let's say the color of the fonts change or kind of do like a pulse. And then if you want that object to exit, you can select the same object and go to add animation, which then you can have that animation, that object exit out of the slide when you move on to the next slide. So as you can see, when I did that demonstration earlier today, you notice that when those text boxes slide in from right to left, and it briefly showed the information, and as the slide concluded, it exit from left to right. So that's just kind of demonstrating that you can apply additional animations to just one object. Of course, we do have effects options. If you insert a animation into an object, you do have options to have the animation skew. For an example, if you inserted a chart into your presentation, and if you want to focus on certain information that's represented in the chart, instead of having the chart all come in at once, you can do a entrance, and then under your select your animation, go to your effects options, and it can provide you to do animations on all at once, or if you want to do by series. And when you do by series, you can have the animations queue one bar, like say if you happen to do like a pie chart, one slice of pie after the other. So if you're facilitating and your colleague is producing, they can queue in that animation one after the other. So it can add like, not, you're not giving away the farm per se at the beginning, but you can apply those animations one at a time. So again, I do cover this in part 2. Just kind of giving you a glimpse of it. This is what I was just talking about, is your add animation. You can have an animation have an entrance. You can also do an emphasis with that same animation. Emphasis is just the duration between after the entrance and when the object is in. And then of course you have your exit, which you can have it exit if you choose to do so. Let's go ahead and do some demonstrations. If you have the software with you, just go ahead. Again, this is Office 2019 or Office 2021. I don't know if 2016 has it. If you do have 2016, just open it up and see what happens. So I am going to just do, let's see here, a portion of screen. Since I already have, let me close this. I already have my PowerPoint open. So I'm going to go to File, under New. So as I mentioned, there's an abundance of feature templates that you can take advantage of. You can also select like, presentations, and you can see it's opened the door with so many pretty snazzy templates that you can take advantage of using if you ever get a chance to. So the door is wide open for the themes. So going back to my new, I'm going to open up a blank presentation. So as you can see with the blank presentation, it's initiated me with a blank PowerPoint slide, and it does have a text placeholder of, click here to add title or click here to add subtitle. What we're going to do now is we're going to change the layout because we don't need these text placeholders. You do have the option to select them like such and delete them. Or if you go to your home tab, let's see here. And then in your home tab, you see where it says layout. Just drag that out. There's a blank slide here. So go ahead and select a blank slide for your layout, and it's going to remove those text placeholders. So now that we have that removed and we have a completely blank canvas of a presentation slide, what we're going to do next is we are going to go ahead and add a shape. So go to your Insert tab, if you will. And in your Insert tab, again, I'm going to zoom in. Under Insert, Illustration Groups, you see Shape here. Drop down your shape, and you can see it's the library of what shapes are being offered. So you can see there's an abundance of shapes that you can take advantage of. Select any shape, any type of shape. It's up to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the sun shape. And before I do anything, let me drag this back to here. So I'm back in my slide. If you select a shape, you'll notice your cursor has changed to where it's got like a skinny cross or a plus sign. At the upper left corner of your shape, you can just click and drag diagonal. If you hold the shift key and drag diagonal, it's going to do like a symmetrical shape. But if you don't hold the shift key, then you're going to kind of skew it. So I usually like to hold shift, let go, and there's my first shape, which is the sun. Your color of your sun may be different than what you see on my screen. That's perfectly fine because this was the default color that I had set on my computer. You do have options to change the colors or outline of your shape. So I'm going to go ahead and select back the shape. And notice, as I mentioned before, contexture tabs, there's one that opened, which is your shape format. So under shape styles, when I drop this down, you can see there's an abundance of different pre-formatted shape. And one thing that's pretty nice about Office is the feature to do live preview. So as you glance your cursor on top of the shape, you can see your object is giving you a glimpse of that selection if you were to choose that. So I like this color here, gradient fill, gold, a send for with no outline. So this is the gradient fill, kind of mimics a sun. So that is the first shape I am selecting. So once I have that there, I'm going to go ahead and go into new slide, drop that down. And again, I'm going to apply a new slide, which is blank. And I'm going to go ahead and add in an additional slide, a new blank slide. So this is our slide 2 panel. We have it activated. So now what we're going to do is we are going to select another shape. So go back to your Insert tab on slide 2, Illustrator Group. Go to Shapes. Select a different shape that isn't what you selected earlier. So I am going to select a, let's go with the moon since I have a sun. And I'm going to position my cursor in the lower right corner of my slide. Hold down my shift and then just drag out my moon so you can see. And I dragged it out pretty. I'm just going to tilt it that way. So there's my moon for my shape. Again, select the object. I am going to go to my shape format. And this time I'm going to let's select a different color. That way you can see the change. So I'm going to select an orange, or let's say blue. No, blue's not. A gradient blue. So it looks pretty nice there. For good measure, let's just do another shape. So not on the same slide, but let's open up a new slide. So go back to your home tab, go to new slide again under your slides group in your home tab, drop down your options and select another blank one. So I have a third slide there. Going to go back to my insert tab. I am going to go back to illustrations group and select shape. And this time I am going to select the smiley face shape. You can select whatever shape you desire. It's to your preference. So I got my smiley shape here in the lower left corner on slide 3. I want to expand it. And again, I don't like the way it looks, so I'm going to change the feel, maybe go like yellow, or let's go green. You can't see the eyes or the mouth, which is fine. I'm going to continue to have my smiley face selected. Go to my shape format. Under my shape styles, you see shape outline here. I'm going to drop that down. I'm going to select an outline for a black so you can see it. But I don't really like how thin the weight of that stroke is for the black. So I'm going to return back to my shape outline here. Drop down my panel. Go down to the bottom where it says weight. So you see weight here. It's going to open up another side option. It's already defaulted to 3.5 points. So I'm going to go ahead and just try to increase that to 6 points. So you can see the outline has been increased to where you can see it. So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to demonstrate a slideshow. See, you have that there, and of course that there, which is fine. That's just showing you the slideshow. What we're going to do now is we are going to designate a given name, which is exactly identical to each of the objects that we inserted from all 3 slides. So in my case, it's the sun, the moon, and the happy face. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my slide 1. Go to my insert tab. If it's not there, then I believe it's in the home tab. See, where was it? Drop this down. No, it's shape. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go to your home tab. You see where it says drawing tools? Let me zoom in so you can see that. So I'm at the home tab. So you see the command that says arrange, which is right here. I'm going to drop that down. Notice in your arrange on your home tab under drawing tools group, there's a command that says selection pane. You can go ahead and select your selection pane. And you'll notice on the right side of your screen, your selection pane has been activated, which is right here. So you see that here? So with your selection pane activated, notice that when you select the sun, it highlights it, and it's given a default name for Sun 3. If you go to slide 2 and select your second shape, which in this case mine is the moon, it's giving me a default name of Moon 1. And when I go to the happy face shape on slide 3 and click on it, it's giving me a default name of Smiley Face 1. So what we are going to do is we are going to change the names of these three exactly identical to each other, beginning with the 2 exclamation points. And again, morph transition can only be perfected with objects with the use of the 2 exclamation points. So you can see here on the screen, I zoomed in to the shape pane, and I have my slide 1 selected, my first shape selected. I am going to go into Sun 1, click inside there. You see there's a blank cursor. I am going to delete Sun 3, and I'm going to go ahead and initiate an exclamation mark, and I'm going to call this object. Excuse me. Once I have that done, exclamation mark, object, I'm going to hit enter. So we designated the sun with the name exclamation mark. Now we can go to shape slide 2, which is right here. Select our moon object, and in our selection pane, highlight Moon 1 or whatever shape it's giving you. And again, rename that as exclamation mark, object 1. Exactly the way you typed it in the first slide. Hit enter. And then we're going to go ahead and go to the third slide and select our third object here, which is the smiley face. Go back into our selection pane, delete that name, and name it exclamation mark, object. And that's it. So all three of them should have exactly identical names, which is, which is this one here. I just indicated on the screen here. So let me just zoom it. So it should be that exclamation mark, object should be your name for the 3 objects on the slide. So if you're doing this, just give me a thumbs up if you have that done. So at least I'll know we're all on the same page here. Again, if you don't have the software, that's fine. I am going to have this video recording on our website, so it will be accessed if you want to follow along later on the road. So let's run a test of an animation. So once we have those there, you can go ahead and close your selection pane by clicking on the X at the top, close it. And I'm going to go back into my animation here, or I'm sorry, slideshow, and go to from beginning. You click on the first one, you notice nothing happened. Click on the second one, notice again nothing has happened. You click on your third slide and notice nothing has happened. Which is fine because we haven't initiated the morphing transition yet. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and select slide 1 So in your slide pane, select slide 1, do the select all shortcut, which is Control A, and it's going to highlight slide 1 all the way to slide 2. So again, select on your thumbnail pane slide 1, or you can hold the shift key and select slide 3 or slide 1 and then Control A to select all. So we have all 3 slides selected. Now I am going to go into my transition tab, and under the transition slide, you can see there's an abundance of transitions that you can use. But in this case here, we are focusing on morph here. So morph is right next to the none command. So go ahead and select morph. You can see like a slow fade kind of giving you a preview. Now to make sure and to confirm you have that, in your next to your slide, you should see like a 1 and a star icon next to it. That's just giving you information that you did initiate a transition into your presentation or an animation, but most likely a transition. So now let's go ahead and test it. So go back to your slideshow. Under Start Slideshow, go to From Beginning. Notice it had that fade transition. So when I hit the click on my mouse, notice that it transitioned to where it changes it to the moon. And when I hit the click on my mouse again, it went ahead and transitioned it to the smiley face. So that's pretty much what transitions are, is the ability to morph in one object into several areas, as you demonstrated here. So again, just give me a thumbs up if you were able to complete that. This is just showing you like a tip of the iceberg with what you can do. And I do cover this extensively in my PowerPoint Part 2 advanced training. We do a tutorial on how to do morphemes with a shape to letters, but we had to convert the letters into a shape. And it's kind of all in a means to create like a promotional video for this make-believe corporation with all of these tech objects that it's doing a demonstration on. But this is just kind of showing you with what you can do with morphing. Now, I'm going to go ahead and like just close this and open up a new one. You don't have to save. Now, let's see here. Let me just go to my chat box. If you're wondering about doing morphing with objects like, images, let's see if we can test that theory. I am going to go ahead and insert our cow pictures that I used in my previous presentation. I'm just looking for that folder. So I wonder if I can do it all at once. Let me do it one at a time. So if you take a look at the chat feature, you'll notice that I'm uploading our cow images on there. So you can just click on these and download them onto your computer. just give me a thumbs up if you were able to download and put these cow images on your computer, because we're going to use them. Fantastic. So just go ahead and open up a blank slide again. And when you open up a blank slide, just go to your home tab and go to blank. So what we're going to do now is we're going to incorporate those cow images on the first slide here. And I'm going to go ahead and go to my insert tab, pictures. It's on this device. I don't know where you guys saved the image, but I have it saved on my computer and I already have it here. So the first one is the football image. So what am I going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and hold down my shift key and scale the image right here, in this corner. Repeat the same sequence, go to insert, pictures, this device, and I'm going to pick the baseball hitting image. And I'm going to go ahead and rescale that down and move that in the upper left corner, which is here. Let's move this, scale this up. Let's do a little bit more. Go back to my insert tab, pictures, this device, the picture, the pitching image, which you can see is right here. Move that down here. And then the last one, image, pictures, this device, is the soccer image. And I am going to move this right here. I'm going to go ahead and go to my home tab again. If you don't have your selection pane open, again, go to your home tab, go to where it says arrange under drawing, drop down your arrange, and then go ahead and select selection pane, which is going to open it. So you should have your images there in your selection pane. So it's picture 4, picture 6, picture 8, and picture 12. So I'm going to go ahead and just rename these. So select my cow football. In this case, it's picture 4. Go to my selection pane, and I'm going to rename this as exclamation mark, moo football. I'm just going to keep it all lowercase. Hit enter. Select the baseball hitting swing. It's going to select picture 6. And I'm going to go ahead and name this exclamation mark, moo baseball hit, which is one word. Hit enter. Select the moo picture, pitching, which in this case is giving me as picture 8. Click on that in my selection pane, delete that. And I'm going to give it exclamation mark, moo baseball pitch. And the last one, select the soccer one. And I'm going to go ahead and change that from picture 10 to exclamation mark, moo soccer. I'll probably misspelled soccer, but notice that the arrangement is I have this one last, this one second to the last, this one second, and this one first. So I'm going to go ahead and change the arrangement. So I'm going to go ahead and select and move football. And in your selection pane, do you see these up and down arrows here? I'm going to toggle the up to just bring it forward. Select the move swinging hit, toggle that up to move it right underneath this move football, select the picture one, just move that up, and then keep the selection for the soccer last. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and go to my new slide drop down on the home tab, select another blank slide, go back to slide 1. I'm just going to go ahead and select move football, right click it, and copy him. And then go to slide 2, and then I'm going to paste him in there. Notice that when I copied and paste him, the selection pane, the name that we gave it is intact. It's giving me move exclamation mark move football. So with this here, I'm just going to go ahead and change the scale, and I'm going to enlarge it. Right here's good. So once I have him enlarged, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and select my slide 1 here, right click it, go to duplication slide, duplicate slide, which you're going to see it's going to put it right underneath slide 1 and give it slide 2. Once that's there, I'm going to click hold and drag it down to where it's going to be the new slide 3. So once I have that there, I'm going to go ahead and go to create a new slide, but blank again. This time I'm going to go back to slide 3, and I'm going to select the baseball swinging image, right click it and go to copy, go back to slide 4 and paste it in there. Once I have it pasted, I'm going to scale it large. So you can see it's almost resemblance to slide 2 with the move football. Once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and go back to slide 3, click on it, right click it, duplicate your slide, and drag that down to the last part, which makes it the new slide 5. Let me just move this one here. Now with slide 5 ready, I'm going to go ahead and go back to, again, new slide drop down, blank. Scroll down, I'll go back to slide 5, select the move pitching, copy it, right click it and copy, go back to the slide 6, insert the paste in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and increase the size of that. Probably center it for good measure so you can see it move. Go back to your slide 5, right click it and duplicate. Click and drag that down to where it's the new slide 7. And then go to back to your home, your new slide drop down, and select blank. Go back to your slide 7. Select the soccer cow, right click it and paste it. And then it's going to paste that in there. I'm going to center it slightly and then increase the scale of him. So if you're wondering what I'm doing, when we run this transition with the morph, it's going to open up with slide 1. And when we click the slide 2, it's going to morph the football move into slide 2. When we go to slide 3, it's going to morph him back in position and back into what slide 1 looks like. And then if you click again, it's going to take the cow position in swinging the bat, and it's going to morph that and change him to size to where he's big. Then it's going to repeat by going back, and then it's going to morph the pitching cow big. And then when you click on it again, it's going to morph back, and then it's going to go ahead and morph the soccer cow. So again, select slide 1, Control A to select all your slides in your slide pane. Go to your transition and then go to morph. It's going to apply the morphing transition to that. Now let's go ahead and give this a test here. So I'm going to go to my slideshow from beginning. You see that this shows up there. Click on your mouse. He zooms in. Click on your mouse again. He zooms back in position and is back to the previous slide. Click on your mouse again. This one's up. Click on your mouse again. He moves back. And then click on your mouse again. You see the picture cow moves up. And then click on your mouse again. The final image that's going to zoom up is the soccer cow. See how cool that is? Forgot to do the last one. So that's kind of demonstrating how you can do morphing with images. So it can work with shape as well as working with images. If you ever get a chance to do a presentation, like let's say for your department, like how I demonstrated the presentation with the staff development and training department with the four sections and how it zoomed in, zoomed out, and the animation of the content. You can create a presentation that will do all of that. So again, I do apologize. I wanted to talk about animation, but due to the circumstances of my condition, I'll probably have to table that for a part 2 session. I would just, suggest practicing something like this here with your presentations at some point. So maybe in due time, when you start to perfect it, you'll start to notice. And even all of this may seem like a long process within your animation pane. If you were to do like a video, for an example, a video editing, you would require to use timelines. And I use a video editing software called Camtasia Studios. And with Camtasia Studios, it allows me to pan zoom, and pan zoom as the timeline is progressing. But this is kind of just demonstrating that type of effect that you can do in PowerPoint. So again, thinking outside the box, we're so used to just doing what the program is offering us, but this is kind of showing you these are some new things that the program is also demonstrating that you can perhaps take advantage of. So again, this session is being recorded. I'll most likely produce it as a video. If you want to get back and practice again, most likely you can revert back to the video. So I'm going to close and don't save. And I'm going to go ahead and go to File and New again. And one more transition I would like to demonstrate is the ability to zoom in on an image. This will require you to also utilize the zoom options at the bottom of the right corner of your screen window, as well as your thumbnail pane. So I am going to go ahead and present in the chat feature a picture that I just took off the internet this morning about the Navajo Nation reservation map. So if you take a look in the chat feature, you should see an image that says Navajo _map. I'm not licensed to this image, but this is just kind of demonstrating it. So just give me a thumbs up if you have that image downloaded. I am going to go ahead and go to open up a blank slide and go to your layout if you haven't and change that to blank so you don't have no placeholders in. Go to your insert tab, go to pictures, go to this device, locate where you saved that image, where it downloaded it, and then insert that image into your computer. So you can see here, we have a pretty nice picture of our great Navajo Nation reservation, and it's broken down with the agencies that are color coded with certain districts, if you will. What we're going to do is we're going to do a transition where we can zoom in this image and focus on the certain districts. So this requires us to do a variety of duplications and maneuvering the image around, which you need to anticipate it's going to cover the entirety of your slide pane. So this is where the zoom will take into effect, where you need to zoom out, as well as take a look at your thumbnail pane so you can see within your slide pane where the images is going to be located. What I'm going to do now, click on an image under selection pane. It says picture 4. I'm just going to go ahead and do exclamation mark, and let's say Navajo Res as the name. You can go ahead and close your selection pane. Now I am going to right click slide 1 and duplicate that. So the first part of this map that I want to focus on is Wendourong, Fort Defiance area. So with your mouse and taking a look at the lower right corner here, you see your zoom feature here. We are going to toggle that to zoom out. So just go ahead and toggle out to where you're going to zoom out. Even if it's like really small, that's fine. So what I'm going to do now, since I toggled it out, I'm going to click on the image, hold down my control button, and then just drag it out, where even if it's over the slide board, that's fine. But take a look when I drag it out. This is where your slide pane takes into effect. Look at right here. Notice that it's picking up that corner there. So when I drag the selection towards this way, you can see it's giving me a glimpse as to where I'm dragging it. So use your slide pane to kind of just navigate it. If you need to drag out more, you can. So right here is good. See? So I'm trying to get the whole Fort Defiance area in one screen. So like, say for an example, you're doing a presentation about regions. So here, that's the best I could get it. So now, since I have that one selected, I am going to go ahead and we can do the back and forth, but it's kind of like, it takes a while and it might be kind of, might get to you guys motion wise. So I'm just going to go ahead and select slide 2 and do a duplication. Now slide 3, I'm going to focus on, I guess, the Chinle area. So since I already have my map increased in size, all I need to do is just move it, and taking a look at my slide pane, and notice that I'm trying to fit the region of Chinle in. So that's right there. So I think I pretty much have. There we go. Right click slide 3. I'm going to do another duplication. Now I'm going to go ahead and focus on the Tuba City area. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the image in slide 4 and just move it to the right. And then just locate the Tuba City region. Even though if not enough is covering, I can go ahead and scale that down. It's almost there. Okay, I think I got just enough of it in there. Right click that, and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate slide 4. And now in slide 5, I'm going to focus on the Kayenta region. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this down. Right up. And I can go ahead and rescale that. Right there is good. Then once I have the Kayenta region in, right click that. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that. Next is the Shiprock region. So with slide 6, I'm just going to drag it to where I can see the whole Shiprock region. Again, take a look at your slide pane, or yeah, your thumbnail pane. That can kind of help you see what you're moving. What I'm doing is I'm increasing the scale of an image, and when we do the transitions and move it around, you're going to see it's going to take an effect with all of that there. So that's what I'm basically doing. So it's kind of like you're taking, going into one image, zooming in, moving around, moving around, moving around. And then, of course, the final part would be the crown point area. So hopefully that was right there. And of course, once I have that done, I'm going to go back to slide 1, duplicate that or copy it. And I'm going to move that all the way back down to the last slide so it can zoom back. And I'm going to go ahead and change my scale back to 100%. So once I have that set, just go ahead and go slide 1, Control A. And then again, go to transition, go to your morph. It's going to go ahead and apply morph to all 8 slides and give it a test. So like say you are working for the tribe, you're doing a presentation and you want to cover each area within the Navajo Nation reservation. So you're talking about the tribe. And when you get into Fort Defiance area, you can click on it, see how it just zooms in. Pretty cool, huh? Then when I click on it, it's going to move over to the Chinle area. And when I click on it again, it's going to move over to the Tuba City area. Click on it one more time. It's going to move over to the Kayenta area. And click on it again. You're going to move to the Shiprock area. And then when you click on it again, it's going to move to the Crown Point area. And then when I click on it last, it's going to move back to the original slide. So this demonstrates how you can take an image and you can kind of do what they call pan zoom. If I were to do this on Camtasia Studios, I have the luxury of just doing it on one shot. But if you're doing this in PowerPoint, it requires you to create additional slides. So this is just working with transitions. You also can incorporate like text boxes and animation to your text boxes, as you've seen demonstrated in the video that I presented, or the presentation I presented early, doing the zoom, text box, exit text box, zoom out, zoom in, text boxes, and whatnot. Again, that's just demonstrating features with the morphing tool that you can use. So I would encourage you guys, if you want to just play around with this, to kind of get a little bit more knowledgeable with it. It's, the video will most likely be uploaded onto our website. You also have the option to take our PowerPoint courses that we offer. It does kind of cover some of these entities of transitions with morphing animations as well. So if you really want to get really proficient with your training or your presentation endeavors, again, I would encourage you to think outside the box, be creative. It may be intimidating, but the more you work on it, the more you start to comprehend the tools that you're using. It will become like your presentations will be enhanced enough to where you will wow your audience. So last thing I want to show you, which I kind of think is pretty cool. If you're wondering with your presentations that, I want to know if I can create a video with my presentations. Now, taking you back to the first slide that I showed you this morning, I did went ahead and converted that presentation into a video. So if I were to do like outreach for our beloved staff development and training department, this is something that I can use as a means of promotion, like a promotional video that can demonstrate. So this is the video that was exported with the presentation. So said, I am going to go ahead and log off and drink some more tea, and I shall see you guys next time. So enjoy the rest of your day, and please, please, please be safe out there. So have a nice day.